morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I think I've covered all of you now. It is a great pleasure and an honor for me, in the name of the Leprosy Mission, to start this webinar where we want to have a conversation about how organizations of persons affected by leprosy or Hansen's disease can work closer and more effectively with NGOs. And I want to say also something that for us, it's clear that this is an ongoing conversation. We don't believe that we are the first to talk about this, and we don't believe that this will be the last conversation. But it is an ongoing conversation, and we hope, as the Leprosy Mission, we hope that we can get better at this. And we know that there's other NGOs here present. Welcome to you too, that also want to advance further along in the journey in this. And we know that organizations of persons affected are also looking forward to be understood, to share their opinions and also their questions, maybe even criticism, and to see how we can make our collaborations better. We basically have 3 questions that we want to focus on today. But of course, we don't want to make this very mechanic and rigid. So we hope that these questions move us into an open and honest conversation. So the questions that we have are, what do leprosy people's organizations want from partnership with NGOs? What can you offer as an organization of persons affected, and what do you need? What has made past partnerships successful? That's the second question. And the third question is, what challenges have you seen in past partnerships? We have the great pleasure and honor to have with us Jayashree Kunju from India. Most of you know Jayashree. Jayashree has been an outspoken voice for persons affected by leprosy. She's herself a person affected. She has been collaborating with a lot of NGOs. She has been involved in other organizations, mostly perhaps with IDEA International, but then also across the board. And it is always a pleasure to have you. We also have Taranath Sigdel from Nepal. Tara is also a great friend of ours. He has been involved with and is involved with IDEA Nepal, but also in the last number of years always present when we have some meeting, being in person or online. And he's someone who's very active also in projects involving NGOs. And then we have our great friend Tesfaye from Ethiopia. He might have a few connection issues, but we hope that we can solve that. Tesfaye has been involved with ENAPAL, which is the Organization of Persons Affected from Ethiopia, for a number of years, if not decades. He has also he's also known to many of us and has a wealth of experience also in collaboration with NGOs. Please forgive me, Jayashree, Tara, and Tesfaye, if I missed something that explains who you are and what you're that says more about yourself, and please mention that if you can, if you want to. Tim, what do we do about if people have questions, they write it in the Q&A box? That's how we do it?
Yes, that's right. If we get some time at the end, we'll go through some of the questions that are in the Q&A box. So please, if you have questions while the panelists are talking, you can pop them in there.
You should have an icon that says Q&A that has some speaking bubbles where you can click on and then ask questions. I want to go with Jayashree with the first questions, and then I will give opportunity to Tara and to Tesfaye to also react to the first question. So what do Leprosy People's Organization want from partnership with NGOs? And what can you offer as an organization of persons affected? And what do you need?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mathias. And you have said everything that that I am. So you cannot make a mistake. So thank you for the introductions. And now coming to your question. Firstly, what do people's organizations look for from NGOs? And then I will break down that itself into two parts, like you asked me, what can we offer? What can people's organizations offer? And what are we needing? What we're looking for? So firstly, because of people's organization itself being, a consortium of people, people getting together, whether they are registered or they are not registered yet, but they are an organization, they are like a community, and they are people who have had the lived experience of the disease, lived experience of leprosy and the aftermath and all the consequences. So there's a lot that the NGOs can take from them, because many times, the NGO represents a passion. People with passion to make a difference are the members. Otherwise, many of them will not work there. So that is, undoubtedly there. And what may be the gap for them would be the understanding of what it means to have lived with that experience of the disease and the whole, aspect around it. So one of the things is that by the time people's organization has been formed, there are times when an NGO, kind of spearheaded that creation, but there are also times when it is the people who got together and from a place of disempowerment, a place of disillusionment or resignation, they moved on to find strength by, providing leadership, or working with people like them, and then, working in a way that they built their resilience in a better way. And so what they can offer really is the leadership that comes from having experienced something. that is like very profound. And they can actually lead the way because there are the NGOs, they have a bigger reach, and then they want to create a bigger impact. And these are the people, the people's organization has enough members who then can provide the inputs that can then be implemented in other places where it's like a nascent place where the leaders haven't been created. So that's a very, very, I just see that is so potent. I've seen the way ENAPAL works and seen many other charities that work. There are people's organization that works. They are people who have gone through stigmatization, discrimination, also the inflicting stigma on their own selves, because I don't want to use the word self-stigma. It somewhere it demeans a person that they have done some mistake, So with all that, the people's organization members are an example of people who have empathy and acceptance in a big way. And so that is something that becomes like an example, like a role model for the NGOs to then, input in their program creation. And they become like examples. They're like definitely champions, role models. So that is something the people's organization can offer. And also the fact that by the time they have gotten together into a people's organization, many of them would have gone through the experience of manipulation, being manipulated. I have heard a lot of stories of people who are now in an organization, like, their own group, but they have been robbed of property and things like that. So they have had the experience of having tried to fight for it or whatever. Now, if you come on the other side, what the NGOs can offer is support these people's organization in the areas they are weak in, probably in terms of their skill, their knowledge, their technical understanding of, say, legal understanding. So that's where the NGOs can come in a big way, and they can, provide support. And another thing that the NGOs can offer is, equity in participation. Sometimes what happens is the very same people hold on positions of leadership in people's organization. But equity would mean that including equal number of, representatives from various, say, gender, women, men, age groups, and different talent. So that would be, one thing that would be very powerful. And also because of the legal strength and other aspects, maybe like forming counselors from the people's organization. So these are the best counselors you can get because they have gone through the experience. That is another aspect. And another thing that the need and the offer both is, partnership in decision making, not having the people's organization be takers and receivers, but also providers and givers. And that can only come when, there's a back and forth empowerment. So empowerment shouldn't just come from one source. And successful partnership comes out of, trust. So one of the things that the NGOs can offer is trust. But for that, they have to probably create changes in the whole structure. So I think the NGOs need to have that courage to, step in when the people's organization that just probably grew very organically without probably directions, restructuring the people's organization, supporting them all the way through would be, very valuable. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Jayashree. Thank you for your insights and sharing your experience. I've just been told that Tesfaye is having some connection issues, but we will hear from Tara now. Tara, if you want to speak about this question, and we'll hopefully be able to connect with Tesfaye again.
Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead, Tara.
Thank you, dear brother Mathias. Thank you for the introduction. In addition, I am working with the Leprosy Mission Nepal as an employment counselor with Found project. I would like to mention that. And thank you very much, Jayashree sister. She mentioned so many things why we need effective partnership with other NGOs. One important thing is that we people affected by leprosy, why you are united, why you are formulated our own organizations, because we have common issues and common problem. We are facing so many discrimination, stigma, boycotted from family, and not fully participation in different event, and not enjoying our right. So we are isolated, so that we are gathering and organizing different kind of leprosy people's organizations. So that, as Jayashree mentioned, the leadership is one important things, leadership development. We need partnership for leadership development of the board member of leprosy people organizations. In additional, we need partnership for organizational strengthening, capacity building of board member on various sectors that we need for the partnership. And also we need partnership to conduct research, to finding the issues, gap, and need analysis of person affected by leprosy. Because without partnership, we alone cannot do the research. So that we need some technical support, we need some financial support, and we need develop our knowledge and skills to analyze the need of person affected by leprosy. So we need partnership for that. Another one point, we need partnership for development of proposal and planning, because the leprosy people organization and who are involving as a board member, even chairperson, everyone, we have less knowledge and skills that how to develop good proposal, planning, and set up the program. So we need support and partnership for that. And another one is we need partnership for effective implementation of design program, because there will be certain process to implement the program, and which will trying to address the issues or problem of person affected by leprosy. So we need partnership for implementation of design project. And also we need partnership, that is very important things, we need partnership for financial support, because leprosy people's organization, they don't have their own source of income, and they are not able to fundraising to conduct their various activities. So we need partnership for the financial support also. Also, we need partnership for advocacy and lobby to establish our rights. And also, we need partnership for exchange and apply of best practices. Some best practices from another country will be very useful for other country, next country. So that we need partnership for exchange the best practices or knowledge. And also all partnership want to achieve common goals of both organizations, leprosy people organization and NGOs. That things, all things will be gradually bring the change and organization and minimize the leprosy effect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tara, for also raising these great points. Yeah, you are also wearing a double hat, also working with Idea Nepal and also working with the fund project for with TLM Nepal.
Yes.
Do we have Tesfaye? I saw that he was just connected. Tesfaye, are you there? Can we hear from you?
Yes, I'm here. Mati, yeah, I'm here. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
What can you say to us about the partnership of NGOs with organizations of persons affected? What can organizations of persons affected offer, and what do they need? What does ENAPAL offer, and what does ENAPAL need?
Okay. First of all, I would say thank you for everybody who facilitated this meeting, and thank you to my friends, Mati. Okay, so before we go to the presentation, it is very well known that the situation of the country are different. So we are based on the existing situation. So our my presentation is focusing the ENAPAL, the situation of Ethiopia. So still the leprosy situation is mostly only the medical aspect, and it's a medical case, but it is not a medical, it's a social and psychological and mental problems. So, and the other is that poor knowledge and practice of the health workers is still the burden or the challenge of the leprosy in Ethiopia. And the other is there are competitive challenges like COVID and conflict, and that's really forcing or chasing the leprosy issue to the other side, and that makes leprosy is forgotten. And so the other is a poor commitment of the stakeholders in the government, and also it's not only the poor commitment. We have only few partners in Ethiopia who are working on the leprosy, only the TLM and the Jayashree, and in the country, actually, as you know, that we are working with LRI, Sasakawa, Leprosy Mission England and Wales, and New Zealand, and so there are, we don't have such big number of partnerships. This is one of the issue. The other is poor enforcement of the laws and principles as a major issue for zero discriminations. So this is a very the challenging issue that we want to address in collaboration with our partners. So to the point, what we need from the partners is to address the issue. One thing that we need to the program-based interventions. So far, we have worked with various stakeholders partnership. So, but I know sometimes this is the experience that we have. It's already limited on the project. That's maybe 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. But we need to have really to address the problems. We have to have a program-based intervention. So if the partners are willing to work in the program-based interventions, really we can address the issue. We have a continuous community awareness programs that needs uninterrupted interventions, and even the rehabilitation problems, we don't have assistive device to support or to minimize further disabilities. And also the overlooked part is the socioeconomic part of the persons affected by leprosy. It's overlooked because even the government is said that the government do not involve on these issues, and even some of our partners are really they are devoting on the transmissions. But the stigma, if we want to avoid the stigma, we have to work on the socioeconomic situations. In the situation of Ethiopia, if one has its own income generating or situation, he is able to communicate with other people, he is able to chat, and so even the marriage and the other things, sometimes depending, on the level of the income, what he has or what he had. So that's very important. The other is capacity building of the national and the branch associations, because these people, if we are really devoting on the building of the capacity of the national associations, the branch association, they can speak by themselves, whether the partners are there, whether ENAPAL are there or not. So if we capacitate the local association, the branch association, maybe my presentations, we have in my presentation, we have almost about 17 local associations. So if we are really capacitate this local association at a grassroots level, they can start to speak for the members right and benefit by themselves. So it is very important, the capacity building interventions. So, and the other is human resource development for the organization like such Nepal, so it's very important because this most of you know that this leprosy organizations has member-based organizations, so there are scarcity of expertise. So if really we support them to have resources, so it's very important to strategize them into situations.
Are you still there, Tesfaye? Or did you freeze, or did we lose you? Hopefully not.
I think we've lost him, I'm afraid.
Okay. We will try to reconnect with Tesfaye. Please, John and/or Tim, let me know if he's showing up. We certainly don't want to miss what he has to share with us from the experience of ENAPAL. We will move on to the second question, meanwhile, which says, what has made past partnerships successful? And I will start with Tara. Tara, what has worked in the past in the relationship and the partnership between NGOs and organizations of persons affected?
Thank you, Mathias, for the important questions once again. Certainly, we have achieved something partnership with others. Regarding the idea Nepal, we have achieving some success with partnership. I would like to mention some point here. We don't have our own office. It was on the premises of the Leprosy Mission Nepal. So now we are able to establish our own office because we got financial support from other partners NGO. Next one, we are able to formulate and organize networking committee of Idea Nepal with all 7 provinces. Before, we don't have that kind of network. So in partnership with other NGOs, we able to expand our committees to all over the Nepal. And next one, we also time and again we are organizing different kind of capacity building and advocacy event for persons affected by leprosy in partnership with other NGOs. Also, we are conducting one research project on assistant device effectiveness in support with WHO. Now that project is running. And same as we are able to celebrate World Leprosy Day, Dignity Day, and we are able to disseminate positive messages towards public about leprosy, because awareness rising is one very important factors which help to change the perception of peoples towards leprosy affected. Still, there is so many misunderstanding and myth towards leprosy affected people, which is taking stigma and discrimination as a taking the places. So this is the main cause of our isolation, and we are standing behind to get our service and better life. So we are able to conduct different kind of leprosy day and other day celebration, which help to disseminate the positive message. We are also conducting community-based program, economic empowerment program, self-actualization program, support to build up low-cost houses. The person affected by leprosy who are under poverty line and they cannot afford the houses themselves. So we are trying to provide them low-cost houses in partnership with Leprosy Germany, so that we have better experience in our past with partnership with other NGOs. And same as we are supporting person affected by leprosy, especially women, to provide informal education. The people who cannot study and who cannot read and write, and even when they go to withdraw the cash from bank, they must do the thumb stand. Now we are able to change that situation, and we are conducting informal education program to the women, especially women who are suffer from leprosy, and also relief distribution to person affected by leprosy during earthquake, COVID-19 lockdown situation, during the flood and other disaster and crisis, in partnership with Idea Nepal, Idea International, and Leprosy Germany, and TLM Nepal, so many others partners, NGOs. So really, these all made successful with partnership with other organizations in the past, in the context of Nepal, same as in the global, in other country where the organization of people affected by leprosy are still working. That is very important to have the partnership. Without partnership, we can do anything right now, but in the future, as Jayashree mentioned, we are not giver, we are not taker, we can be giver also. But right now the situation is we need partnership for everything. Thank you, Mathias.
Thank you so much, Tara. And I think that Idea Nepal is one of the great examples in the past few years how the partnership and then definitely the work that the leadership of Idea Nepal has done has contributed to the strengthening of the organization as also as a national organization and in so many areas. I will try to give the word to Tesfaye, see if he's there. There you are, Tesfaye, well supported. Can you hear us? I hope we can hear you.
Yes, Dan, Nati. I'm here. Sorry that we have a challenge of the network interruption. So maybe sometimes if I miss, I don't know where I am. I don't know. So as I mentioned, that it is we have really good. We want the from the partners that I mentioned that, and for more information. So I sent my presentation to Tim, and if I am right, I'm going to the second question. What's made past partnership successful? Okay, so Nepal has a good relationship with the partnership because we have a clear, vivid communications with our partners. It's mutual understanding, mutual trust, and commitment is very important for the to maintain the partnership. So ENAPAL is in this way we are very successful to maintain the mutual relationship, and also we have a good organization systems, because if we want to be terrorists, we have to have a system at the ground. So all DPOs should have such systems, because the system can really keep waste of time, waste of money, in duplication of something and something. So it is very important. So in this regard, ENAPAL has good organizational systems, and also we have organizational transparency and accountability, because we still, even we get money from abroad or from the partners, we are really account to our members, and we are also transparent to
I think we lost Tesfaye again.
He has shared with me his PowerPoint presentation he prepared, so I will be sure to send that to all of the people who've registered so they can see what he had intended to say if he's not able to rejoin us.
Okay. Can we move on to Jayashree?
Thank you, Mathias, and thank you so much, Tara, for very in detail, sharing about the past success of partnerships. And really, like you said, Mathias, I also want to add how Idea Nepal has inspired the world, just not Nepal, and they have provided leadership and shown, an example of what people's organization can be, and it's very inspiring. And I think Tesfaye was speaking about transparency. So I want to take off from there. One of the first points that I wanted to speak about was that what has made past partnerships successful wherever it has been. Definitely one of the aspects would be open and transparent communication among the two constituents, and also setting expectations right, not just in the beginning, because people's organization and the NGO supporting them, they go a long way, and definitely, one is dealing with human lives and dealing with funds. So funds are being exchanged, and then lives are being impacted. So trust, sustainable programs, long-term, longer relationship, like long-term relationship, that is going to really make a difference. So setting the expectations right, not just in the beginning, but ongoingly, with the changed environment that the things that are happening around us, so many changes, COVID happened, and so many other changes can happen. So expectations have to be set again. What do you bring to the partnership and what do we bring to the partnership? Those sort of communication, when that is open, then that becomes a successful partnership. And another thing that has made past partnership successful has been the creation of programs that has the people's organizations at the center of decision making, because otherwise they are left with as the experience of being disempowered. So one of the things is that's important, and the other thing would be to have. We are talking about transforming lives in many ways. People who were at the receiving end of all things going on, and then now when they start developing themselves, then what comes in the picture is the next generation. So I've seen that successful partnerships have happened when the nurturing went on to the next generation, people's organization, and then their children be impacted. So where schools were open or admissions were provided in schools, or later on, and when the children turn adult, they were given some vocational training programs. So any NGO that had these kind of capacity building, and where the children and next generation were automatically taken, then the bond became for lifetime. So I think it was like the most successful partnerships. And also, obviously, patience in developing people in spite of the limitations. So many of the people's organization members, because of lack of many of them, because of lack of education or exposure, might come from a particular place. But then, the NGOs being very patient and nurturing, I've seen that has created like magical results, and you had a partner for life. And one very powerful thing that happened was that we all saw was that when the NGOs sponsor, candidates for some conference and seminars, and then nurture them, then they become really like catalysts for change. And these are the champions, and the Global Leprosy Champion Group, where many of us are members, was all created out of some sponsorship. One of our members took up putting us all together. So I think these are some of the points that I see that successful partnerships can be created. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jayashree, and I'm sure there is much to say, but one of the things exactly what we wanted and what you and Tara and Tesfaye have contributed is saying, so what has worked in the past, and we should build on that. I'm not sure if Tesfaye is back. I'm being told he is back. So
yes.
Great
Okay.
to have you back. If you still want to say something about the previous question, or if you want to move on to the third question. So what challenges have you seen in past partnerships?
Okay.
It depends on you. Where do you want to continue?
Let me say something on the previous issue, and I will come to the third point.
Okay.
So the other is good organizational structure from the national to the grassroots level is very important for the success. Not yet. And the other is full participation of the members, because if the project is really participatory, it is very important for the successful. So the other is responsiveness for the public health and social work, social disaster. Because ENAPAL, as an organization of persons affected by leprosy, whenever some disaster is appear, ENAPAL goes to the front and to challenge that challenge. So this is a very important, that really creates the belongingness of the association. So members believe that our organizations, so if we are, so far we are dealing the COVID and the conflict with our partners. So directly we ENAPAL implementing with any support from the partners direct to the beneficiaries. So this is a very important for our success. And the commitment of ENAPAL leaders and staff at all levels. The commitment is very important for success. So this is what I want to add in the previous. So in the third one is the challenge. Actually, the financial constraints on administrative issue. If some projects, there are some projects for 3 years, for 4 years, and 2 years, and 1 year. But those projects are coming without having administrative covers, administrative costs. So that's very challenging. And the other is lack of sustainability of the donors. Sometimes the donors appear, and the other time they disappear. This is really, we don't have a consistency. Just if, of course, TLM is working with us for a longer period of time. The Sasakawa is working for a longer period of time, and JLR is also worked for a longer period of time. But some partners came and they work for some reasons, for some times, and they will disappear. Such kind of lack of the consistency is very difficult. The other is the political unrest in the country is also our difficulties, our challenge. The other is high inflation rates in the project, high inflation rates and lack of currency exchange rates adjustments. It is a very difficult issues, and some interest of the partners or the donors. Even we know our partners, they are really focusing on the point, but the back donors have their own interests. They want to do this because they are the owner of the money. They really push both of our partners and ENAPAL. That is something as a challenge. The other is resource duplications for some organizations. Really, we have to read each other's. We have a few partners in Ethiopia. So if these few partners are really discussing together, and if they share experience, they never duplicating resource and the other things. So this resource duplication is happening. And the other is donor interference on implementation of the project at grassroots levels. For example, it is good, but sometimes really it's weakened the organizational system of ENAPAL. For example, if some organization come directly from abroad and working from one region, from one branch of associations without knowing, without common because ENAPAL as an organization, we are responsible and we are accountable for the benefits and all works of the ENAPAL members. So if some organizations really come and work through ENAPAL, that is a good thing. But sometimes they are missing this and they are go directly by themselves, but they are not successful. Sometimes it creates misunderstanding and conflict among the members. So this is the other issue as a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tesfaye. And we're very happy that despite all the challenges, we could make it happen. And ENAPAL has a lot to contribute to this conversation. So have the other people who are part of this webinar. I want to hear from Tara now. Tara, are you there?
Yes, please, Mathias, brother. I'm here.
Yeah. So we spoke about the things that worked well, but to be very honest, we also have to speak about the challenges. Do you have something to say about that? The challenges of collaborating between an organization of persons affected and an NGO?
Yes, sure. There are some challenges because so many issues and problems are still taking place, and we are not able to address their problem of people affected by leprosy. Still, we are working in few particular area with particular person, but there are so many other leprosy affected brother and sister still need support and seeking the support. They are really needed. So there are some issues that we must address in our future. The people still they don't have knowledge on existing legislation, law, and about UNCRPD. Also, we must working to identify new cases, and we must do work awareness raising, provide skill development training and economic empowerment support, self-care and health device support, education support to the children of people affected by leprosy, and so on. So many other programs are still there. But with partnership with other NGOs, we are able to address certain program. But still we have challenges that there are so many NGO and INGO working in leprosy field. But we feel that leprosy people's organization are in less priority, and they doesn't include person affected by leprosy in planning and designing. Yeah, that is one challenges. So many other leprosy network, leprosy NGOs, INGOs who are working in leprosy field, but they doesn't want to easily partnership with leprosy affected people's organization. They doesn't trust. Why? We are surprising. Because they thought that they don't have policy, they don't have better human resource, they don't have knowledge and skill, something like that. So they are working their own way and they are working on their own process. But in context of Nepal, we are not having closely partnership with other organization NGOs who are working in Nepal. We have only long-term partnership with the Leprosy Mission Nepal as well, and other organization still we have to do partnership with them. And same as some partnership program are supported only for certain period or short term only, and they just support for 6 months, 1 year or 2 years, and then they doesn't continue the support. They stop that support. So during that period, what things we able to deliver to our brother and sister, that is not sufficient. The other issues and challenges and other people, they are left behind to get the services. So that is another one challenges. And also regarding the financial support, regarding the idea Nepal, we are not getting huge fund or budget, sufficient budget to implement our program. So that is also another one challenges, because we need fund. Without fund or financial support, we cannot conduct our activities. So still there is challenging of budgeting or financing. Also, lack of sustainable and regular partnership. It results that many programs and supports are not reaching to needy person affected by leprosy, and the problem are still issues are remaining to address. So programs are event based, not as a campaign. Some program we do, but that is only for certain time, and then we left it. So these are the challenging. So we need sustainable and long-term partnership for the organization development and research, finding the gap, problem, program designing, implementation, and bring the good impact. So that these are the major challenges we face, and I hope that other person affected by leprosy organizations also facing same and other different kind of challenges in the partnership with other NGOs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tara, for bringing the issues to the table. Jayashree, do you have something to add to the challenges?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I think Tesfaye and Taranath have covered all the points very comprehensively. A little, I have some things to add. One of the things would be that, the limited involvement of the governmental agencies in the whole, the work that needs to be done. So there's, on one hand, the people's organization expect the NGOs to provide solutions, and you find the NGOs are working hard. For example, discriminatory laws that, there are more than 100 laws in India itself and in many countries. But, the repealing of that is like completely very, very slow process, although the work has been done. So that kind of creates a challenge between the people's organization who expect solutions, but the NGOs are not able to give those answers. Another would be an example in India, and it may be also relevant elsewhere, is getting the disability certificate. Because there are so many, the country is divided into so many states. So you have each state, the different officials behaving differently. So people end up struggling and suffering, and then the partnership might look good, but underneath the results doesn't happen because the frustrating, the aspect of dealing with the governmental agencies. There are some officers who are very good and some are not so good. And so, people are impacted finally. And that is one thing. The other is also NGOs within themselves. Sometimes, it's like as if they are kind of competitors. I think in the sense that everybody's probably competing for the same fund or whatever. So in the process, what happens is sometimes this duplication of efforts. For example, if there was a seamless way of getting all the resources to, put forth a case for, say, providing the requisite, say, pensions and all those benefits. And also perhaps all those assisted tools. All of us personally know people affected by leprosy who are struggling to, do daily chores. But those tools are available someplace. We don't know where they are available, So, and people's organizations may not know. And that might only be because some NGOs know about it, some NGOs don't know about it. So I see that just not looking at partnerships between the people's organization and, NGOs per se, but also between NGOs and coming together might, to some extent alleviate the problems. Another thing I see is that there are so many people's organizations, especially grassroots level. They are people who have struggled, they have lived together. Maybe the head of the institution is some sister or nun or some other charity, but they don't come in the national realm at all. They are so insignificant. They don't get to participate anywhere. They don't get to be visible. And I think we are losing a lot of, precious talent and precious possibilities out of that. So the mapping, it's not like per se just the partnership between two people, but we are missing out on partnerships. So there's a lot of hidden such, people's organizations that we need to somehow bring to the forefront, which our current system might not, address. So I thought that is another thing. Yes. And the other aspect I would want to add is the social limitations. of people's organization members, so societal limitations, I would say, because even though the NGOs are empowering and enabling people's organizations, ultimately the organization consists of members, human beings. And many a times, in spite of receiving a lot, the members of people's organization may not want to come out and acknowledge themselves as people affected by leprosy. So that limits the work. And we need to see how that is a challenge that the NGOs would have. So I haven't found a solution that I can see, but a lot of times people don't want to admit, or many of the times the people's organization, a second generation, do not want to say they come from a colony. Some of the stigma perpetuates even to the next generation. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jayashree, also for pointing out the responsibility of government actors, which is it's not the main theme of this webinar, but it's something that we cannot ignore and that needs to be there. We have two questions here, and some people are already reacting. One question is about, it has to do with an ongoing situation that there's still discriminatory laws, and it's also, there's still a discriminatory situations going on. The example is Nepal, but I think sadly the situation is similar in a lot of places. I don't know if someone, Tesfaye, Tara, or Jayashree want to react to that. What I can say, not just from the situation that I've seen in these countries, but also in other countries, is that specifically and precisely organizations of persons affected, and also NGOs, and many times in collaboration, they have made a difference. Now, is it enough? Is the work done? No. But there is a difference that you can see. I don't know if someone else wants to react to that.
Yeah, Mathias, I know very points. I mean, I had not seen this question, and so I'm reading it. That's exactly what we were addressing, that the actors in this are not just the people's organization and the NGOs. The third aspect is definitely the the government. So we make representation, but unless they don't want to, they will not. So there is we end up, there's a dead end, there's a wall there. But the next question is, how do we then come out? How do we cross that? There's no answer right now. Yeah.
Okay, may I respond quickly?
Yeah.
Mathias?
Yes, please. It's from your country.
Yeah, that is true. We have still the discriminatory law that if any person got leprosy, he or she can divorce each other. So if they married, they have right to divorce each other on the basis of being leprosy affected. So that is still taking place. And we people organizations, Idea Nepal, conducting various event and various program, how we can abolish that discriminatory law. But we are conducting the programs and the meeting and dialogue and discussion, but really the government is not here yet, because we have to discuss, we have to organize one special program with the policy maker and lawmakers, parliamentary members and minister of law, someone like that. But we are not actually we are not able to conduct that high level interaction program. When we completed that discussion and dialogue, we make the document and submit to the respective persons, but they really are not implementing, and they are not revising that laws. So this is one major challenging, and the discriminatory law is still taking place. But we have plan to organize one high level program and discussion and dialogue very soon. Also, same as the disability identity, we have the leprosy affected person are keeping under the physical disability group. We don't have separate leprosy affected people as a disabled person in Nepal. The government is not recognize us, and like India, they have already one categorized that the government address that leprosy also one category of disability, but we are keeping under the physical disability. So we have another one challenges. Without any disability identity card, we cannot get the social protection services and other services and rights which are provided by the government. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tara. I also want to point out that many times speaking connected, we want to change the culture and the way people think. And but then we also realize that changing the culture and changing the way people think is a very complicated endeavor. And it might take us decades, although I have a lot of hope in also in the new generations, because they're already used to change the thinking, and they are used to the idea that perhaps some of the concepts that they get from their parents and grandparents might be a little different. But what we've seen, and that's exactly where organizations of persons affected come in, is that when persons affected by leprosy experience this empowerment that often happens in the context of an organization, the stigma, the discrimination, the rejection that they might feel, they might perceive, they might receive from the outside world does not have such a big impact on them, because they receive the tools and they have this belonging to this organization, and they know how to respond, and sometimes they're able to generate income, which gives them a standing, and they're able to get education, and one could say so many other things. I see that Nikita is commenting. We definitely have a lot to learn from what is happening in India and also in other places. I also saw, I think, Janine also for interacting, Yvonne. I saw Subodha commenting. There was a question and some conversation about language. And we have to recognize, we're the first to recognize that by doing this webinar in English, we are we're at fault. It's not open enough. But the question is then, for how many people do we provide translation? And that's where we're also limited in our possibilities, in our budget. But we do want to continue this conversation. And I know that, for example, when Jayashree speaks, she does not just say her thoughts, but she says what she has heard from many people in their language. And when Tara speaks, he speaks of what he's heard from the people in Nepal. And when Tesfaye speaks, he can speak of what people have told him in Amharic and in other languages. It's not it's not perfect, and we will continue to work and we will continue to look for volunteer translators, and we're open to many suggestions. But we still, even though we can't do it perfectly, we want to continue this conversation. And we hope that this conversation also takes place within the countries and that we continue with this conversation. I would like to thank all of you for participating, especially Jayashree, Tara, and Tesfaye. I also thank the support team, Tim, John, Janine. Am I forgetting someone? Thanks to all the participants. Thanks for asking the questions. Thanks for pushing us, challenging us. Jayashree, you wanted to say something?
I was just trying to say thank you, Mathias, and thank you to my co-panelists and the support team for the opportunity.
Also, I would like to say thank you, Mathias, team, and I have seen the international director, Brent Morgan, is also taking part, and thank you everyone for the participation of today's webinar.
Yes. Thanks to all of you, and
Okay.
have a good day, afternoon, night, evening, and maybe we always continue to have this conversation and not just talk about it, but act on it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.